Hi all, and welcome to my channel, Fred Makes Things, and our hooks and needles review for October 2024. I get the crochet box from Hooks and Needles. They have two of them, a knitting box, a crochet box. I get the crochet one. I'm going to break this video up into 4 parts. Part 1 is going to be talking about who Hooks and Needles is and what came in the box. Part 2 is going to be talking about the project itself and kind of my journey through that. Part 3 is going to be pros, cons, and user error. And then part 4 is going to be final thoughts and sign off. Quickly before we do all of that, I want to greet everybody. Say hello and welcome to everybody, new subscribers, OG subscribers, and everybody in between. Hello to the lurkers out there. And if this is your very first video, hello to you too. I hope you stick around and watch a bit more of these videos. I do have a couple of quick disclaimers before we get right into the video. I had said in my unboxing video that I was going to look online and kind of see whether or not this is like a monthly box, like everybody gets the same October box, or if they do the subscription box where everybody who subscribes gets like box 1, then box 2, and then box 3. I know 100% that everybody gets the exact same first box. The little magazine that you get in the box says, welcome to like Hooks and Needles, this is your first box, blah, 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 blah. I thought that it was going to be like some of the other subscription boxes that I get where everybody gets the same box after that. But as of right now, I'm still not sure, because if you've been on my channel for a little bit now, you know that I got sick a couple of weeks ago. And that really took it out of me. And to be honest, I just have not had enough time to sit down and do the proper research, the proper Googling to figure out what exactly is going on with it. Their website doesn't really say anything about whether or not it's like a monthly same for everybody subscription, or if it's a specific order that you get your box in. I'm leaning more towards the latter part, like the latter idea. But as I finally start having more time, I'll start to take a look into it and get back to you in our next crochet box. Secondly, I'm starting to branch out from Hooks and Needles for crochet. I am a beginner. I've said that before, but if you're new here, I am a beginner. I've only made a few crochet projects as it is. So this box is really coming from like that. But because I'm branching out and I'm doing different things, I'm beginning to think of doing like dedicated, this is what I'm working on, like a whips kind of crochet video. Would that be something that people are interested in? So it would be like Hooks and Needles unboxing video, Hooks and Needles review video, and then everything else that I'm working on a separate video. Let me know in the comment section what you think about that. And now let's get into part 1, who Hooks and Needles are and what came in the box. So Hooks and Needles, I'm figuring out, is a Danish company out of Europe that curates 2 types of boxes. They have their hooks box, right, crochet, and then they've got needles, knitting boxes. I'm brand new to crochet. I got the crochet box, but you can also get the needles or the knitting box as well. You can also get them as a bundle and save yourself some money. Pricing is up on the screen for you. Pricing to me is a little bit confusing, and I don't really like the tactic of like, oh, like if you subscribe now you save money, blah, 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 because every time I've ever clicked on their website, the $33 or so that you see is always the price that it is. It's just a fake counter, like a fake countdown timer. I'm not a fan of that, but it is a really good price for what you're getting, I think. So I'm going with it. I do have a 6-month subscription, or I am planning a 6-month subscription with them. And this is my 3rd month getting them. If you're curious about the unboxing video or any of the previous Hooks and Needles review videos that I have done, the link, or The link to the unboxing video is here on the screen for you, and there will be a playlist at the end of the video for you to see the rest in this playlist of my hooks and needles playlist. So now I'm going to talk quickly about what came inside of the box. So if you haven't seen that video, or you want a refresher, or you don't want to click over to that video, or however it works out, we can look at it together. It was a smaller box. This is different. There's a few things in here for other stories, but we always get a little magazine. It gives you kind of like information on crochet and stuff, like lovely little articles. And then it gives you 3 different projects: a beginner level, a more intermediate level, and then like more of an experienced, advanced kind of a level. And then there's like things you can read up on. And this one, it's kind of cool because they gave you different kinds of stitches. I haven't worked with them yet, but they talk about like different stitches and different patterns and stuff like that. So I'm gonna look around at that in a little bit. So there is this. We got 3 skeins of this merino wildflower wool. It's 70% wool, 30% polyamide. Oh, I was told how to pronounce it and I've forgotten. It's a number 2 fine, and it comes like, I got it in this really beautiful color. They also sent along some handmade takes that you could sew in. These are also really pretty. I've left them on because I have nothing that I want to add them to just yet. And then they sent you a 3.5 millimeter hook as well. You're only seeing 1 skein because the other ones have been used up. We'll talk about this in a second as well. So yeah, that is what came inside of the box. So now let's talk part 2, the projects themselves. So like I said, I'm a beginner. So I first started working on this crochet sunny day bucket hat. I don't wear hats. I don't really like, they're not really for me. I like the idea of it, so I was going to make it no matter what, but because I like this yarn so much, I didn't want to waste it on making a bucket hat. So if you saw my things I bought in Europe video, you will know that I went a little nuts with cotton yarn. Really good price at a store called Sostrena Grena, something like that. And the weight of this yarn and the weight of this yarn and the gauge of them are pretty much the same. So I thought, ooh, like why not just try it out with this? So I started making the hat, and this is what it started to look like. And then I reached a certain point in the project here, and it's like, oh, it needed to reach 6.5 inches. And I was looking at it, I'm like, well, that's not 6.5 inches. And I got really scared. So I was like, well, maybe it's too fine of a yarn. Maybe I'm not doing something right. This doesn't have like a weight, like a 2 weight assigned to it like this does, right? Like right on here, it's like number 2 fine. This doesn't say anything like it on there, and because I'm so new to all of this, I wasn't sure exactly like what was going on, and I didn't know what to do. So this says 50 grams equals 160 meters, and this one says 50 grams equals 202 yards. So I'll do the mathing and tell you on the screen what they equate to on each. But I got scared. I was also sick, right? But I got scared that this wasn't going to be the right size. So I stopped and I went off to Joann Fabrics and I bought a couple of different two weights in yarn, and I got two of these here. These are a Lucky brand, something or other. Here's a photo of the wrapper or whatever, this thing. Here's a photo of that for you to see, and it's thicker, right? But it's 2 weight, like the 2 fine, right? Number 2 fine. So I thought, oh, this might work. It is a little bit thicker, but I thought, oh, well, it should. And that turned into this. So it's definitely hat shaped. It's supposed to flare out at the bottom and kind of give you a little bit of a ruffle, but it doesn't. It's also a little bit bigger than it was supposed to be, but this is how it came out. I really like this yarn. I really like this color too. I haven't woven in my ends because I don't plan on keeping this whole. I did cut it off though so that I could take like photos of it on a head and stuff so that you could see what it actually looks like. So here's a photo of it on either mine or my husband's head from the back. And then here's another photo of it from the side. I'm gonna have to remake it though using like the finer yarn. I might just finish it off like this white one, because now that I understand the pattern better, and I didn't, again, that I realized I had misread it, this is actually working up to be closer to the size that it was supposed to be in the beginning. So out of that Lucky brand, I do have this much yarn left over, but I just wanted to show you this first project first and let you kind of see the different iterations that I worked on. Like you could even see on here like how much smaller the spiral is here than on here. They're supposed to both be 2 fine yarns. I used this hook that came with it, this 3mm hook, and I don't like it. Don't know, I think because again it hits me right in this like pressure point here. I don't like the way that this hook feels. It's funny because the Sostrena and Grena hook that I bought in France is also wooden, but it tapers down at the bottom and it feels nicer in my hand. I don't like using this specific hook, and I didn't like the hook that I got a couple of months ago either. For that same reason, it hits my hand funny, and I don't know if it's the way that I hold my hand or hold this when I'm stitching and I'm holding it wrong, or if it just hits funny. So then when this was finished, I did want to get working on the shawl, which is the intermediate project. Elegant Twilight shawl. It shows you a whole bunch of different stitches on here, and I was like, well, it's pretty straightforward as it is, so I'm going to try it out. It had some stitches I was unfamiliar with, some terms I was unfamiliar with, but with a little bit of Googling, a little bit of help, it all came together quite nicely so far. I am not done it, but here it is. I'll put a picture of it draped around my mannequin that I have upstairs so you can kind of see how it's starting to lay and stuff like that. So here's that for you. They do curve as you're working with it, but then your line straightens out as you add more and more and more rows to it. It's not done. I'll tell you where we reached, but first we'll tell you the journey for this guy. So I was putting it together and I was like happily stitching. I even posted to Instagram like how pretty this yarn is. I have so many other things to be working on, but I'm really enjoying working with this yarn, working with this pattern. But I realized that my counting was off. So when I reached right in this section here, yeah, this round of single crochet. So this is a single crochet with 5 chain, making kind of this like half circle kind of shape, this curve kind of shape. In there I realized that my stitches were so off that this wasn't coming up to the right amount of stitches that it was supposed to be. I also realized, again, I was reading the pattern wrong. So I thought, well, I could continue going and try to fix my mistakes as I had been going along, or I could just tear it all apart and start over. And so that's what I did. So from here to like around in here was completed, and then I had to start over. I made it to step somewhere in like between step 18 and 19. Yeah, so row 16 is where I really started to see the mistakes I was making. And then I think I hit row 19. Yeah, when I started doing the front post double crochets, that's when I was like, okay, this is wrong. I need to start over. So that's what I did. And I worked diligently, too much. It takes me too long to make rows. Again, I'm new and I work slow. So this has taken me a few days and a lot of hours to get to. As an example, this last row of 3 double crochet clusters took me like almost 2 hours to do, right? And it goes from this side all the way around to this point and then all the way down. But yeah, it took me almost an hour and a half, 2 hours last night to work on it. But what this pattern does is it does a repeat. So when you hit row 36, which is what I just hit, you repeat back to row 24, right? So you go from row 24 to row 35, row 36. This is a repeat. So I figured that's a good place to... See, I made that mistake right there too. Okay, anyway, sorry, I got distracted. I figured that was a good place to be able to stop and talk to you about it. So with that repeating cluster, this is how much more stitching I'm supposed to do. I would say that's about 5 inches, 6 inches. So the shawl's gonna grow from there out, right, and get a little bit bigger. It's still on the small side, but I think it's coming together really, really nicely. This yarn is amazing. It works so well. It just like glides through my hook so nicely. It feels nice to work with. Like, I was starting to not like the texture of this one after a while. But this one here, it works up nicely. It feels really, really good. As you can see, the color is just absolutely amazing. I love how it kind of transitions and how it works through all of its different shades. It's a good yarn. I really enjoy it. Should have saved that for my next discussion point, but whatever. Here it is in as far as I've gotten. If you want to see it completed, that I'll probably stick up on Instagram whenever I get that done. And like I said, if I start doing like crochet reviews outside of hooks and needles, it would make its way into one of those and you could see how far I have gotten. Now I did have to do a second, where's that? Why that's messed up? No. This is my second skein of this yarn. If you look somewhere in my double ridge here, there's a little tiny connection knot that when I've been working with it, I'm like, oh gosh, that is glaring. right here. That's where they came together, but it blends in really nicely. Right, it took me that long to find it. So yeah, that's where we're at. So now let's talk part 3, pros, cons, and user error. So pro, both patterns work up really nicely. This hat came together really quickly. For a beginner project, this hat works really well because it's just single crochet over and over and over again with increases. Even how they do the increases is nice, so that you could just count out how many ever increases you have, and then you can work around that way. So it works up really nice, and it makes like a functional and a pretty decent sized project. Like I said, this is a little larger than what they say, but still pretty nice, pretty decent. Pro for this guy here, the intermediate project, is I'm learning new crochet stitches. So it's predominantly double crochet, but they do them in a little bit different. So I've learned how to get these like ridges in here. It's a stitch called front post crochet, and then it's back post crochet, and that's what gives us these. I'm learning how to I've learned how to like make gaps and openings. They have a couple of different versions, right? They've got this one here, which is just skipping crochet stitches. They've got this one here, which is like chaining more. They also have something called 3 double crochet clusters. I think it's called 3DC cluster. That's a different technique for doing crochet, and I think that that stitch looks so pretty when it's together. So I don't know if you can really see on here, but like these are besides the cat hair, these are all 3 double crochet clusters, right? And then this is just a regular double crochet. But like, look how pretty that is, right? With the ridges. So I'm learning all of that. Counting is definitely a thing that I'm figuring out. Patience is a thing that I'm figuring out. And just shaping this up. It takes a minute to figure out the pattern, but again, I can't hold that against them because I haven't worked with enough crochet patterns. So I'm enough at different places to be able to comment on whether or not the pattern is great or not. The yarn that they provide is really wonderful. And for this shawl, I've just been using like one of the crooks that I got in like the Amazon pack that I bought myself, right? I'm using a 3.5 millimeter, exactly the same as this one's, a 3.5 millimeter. But for me, not having it stick out from my fingers is nice. So when I'm crocheting, I tend to hold it like this, right? And go like that. Like, I think it's because I like learned how to hold a pen like this, and I'm trying to kind of do the same thing, but that's awkward to me. So I hold it like this, right? So it's sitting here, right? Or sometimes it sits further down, but never does this part hit my hand. So or like hit that pressure point or whatever it is that's in here. So it feels nicer when I'm like stitching to be like that, if that makes sense. And like I said, this just hurts. So cons, I guess, because I really like how this yarn feels, how this yarn works up. I really like how the pattern comes together, all of that. Cons, I do kind of wish that in the beginners projects, they do give you more than just single crochet over and over and over again. Like in the first one that we got, it was double crochets with gaps to make like a water bottle carrier, and to me, like, that was beginner friendly. It's the same stitch, it's the same steps over and over and over again, but it creates something really, really cool. And it was really cool and interesting to work with. Last month's box, it was just single crochet over and over and over again in rectangles that you then sewed together. So you didn't have a lot of like interest. You're just doing the same stitch over and over and over again. Whereas their intermediate last month was making puff stitches, which is cool and different and interesting, and I like that. The same thing for here. The beginner crochet is single crochet over and over again. It's helping you figure out how to do increases nicely. It does help you count your stitches, right, and pay attention. Like I have stitch counters on here at equal increments, and then I know that when I go to the next round, this is where my increase is going to be, right? So that's nice that you kind of pay attention to how your increases work and stuff like that. They walk you through really well in the pattern, but it's boring. It's the same stitch over and over again. So I think that as beginners, if we're really uncertain about ourselves, we could maybe possibly get tired of doing the same single crochet over and over and over again. Like, it's cool to see different textures and stuff being created, but it's just single crochet over and over again. User error. So in this hat, I skipped stitches, I missed stitches. You can kind of see there's some holes, right, for where I think I missed a stitch. I made it up somehow going forward. My joining seam is kind of wonky. And at one point I ended up having too high of an increase suddenly, as you can see here. Like, that's a mess. That's a weird bump. And instead of going back and fixing it, because I didn't notice it until I was like down in here, I just started to shrink or decrease my stitches in here a couple of times to bring it back down to the right size. And here, I don't think there's any really skipped stitches, because I was really adamant about counting and making sure that everything came together. But I do have this weird notch, and I do have some skipped stitches and stuff in the round. So yeah, that's the problem with this one. And this one is just, I had to start over from scratch completely and then go from there. And even now, I think that like my count is even on both sides, but I think it's a little bit off. But I'm okay with it, because like as this straightens out, everything seems to be working okay. And now that the right and the left hand sides are even in the count, and nothing is getting too far afield, I'm okay with that. Also, if you saw me notice it over here on my one rib, that's a mistake there that I'm not a big fan of. But other than that, I think it's looking pretty good. And I'm really enjoying it. So now let's get into part 4. Final thoughts and sign off. So I'm liking this. I'm liking these projects for the most part. I'm loving the wool that they send. I'm really enjoying this little magazine that they put out there. Not a fan of this hook, but others really love them. So I think it depends on how you hold your hook, your hand size, all of that. Not every tool is going to be great for every single person. I think of this a lot when I'm doing, when I'm juicing like a lemon, right? There's a whole bunch of different ways that you can juice a lemon. Like, I have a Tupperware old school one where you cut the lemon in half, stick it on top, and then like wrench it over like the ridged part to get all of the juice out. I really like that juicer. But then there's the other juicers where, right, it's that big lever thing, right, that you put the lemon in and then you push it down and then all the juice comes out the bottom, right? There's that like a handheld juicer, right, that you stick in, and it's kind of shaped like my Tupperware one, and then you could get your juice out that way. My husband learned from one of his former bosses that if you roll a lemon briskly on the countertop, cut it open, you can use a fork and like squeeze it and use a fork and twist it around, and you can like juice your lemon that way, and then you're just dirtying a fork. But all of those tools work for different people in different ways, right? I like my Tupperware juicer. I have some of the other ones, but my favorite one is the Tupperware juicer. And that's not to say the other ones aren't great and work well for other people, but you know, I have my favorite. And weirdly as it is, these hooks, these cheap Amazon hooks, seem to keep coming out as my favorite hooks, and the hooks and needles ones are just not working for me. So to each their own, I guess. Yeah, so I'm going to try remaking the hat, or finishing the hat, doing something with the hat. I'm going to continue making the shawl, and I only have one round of repeats left for the shawl, but I think I'm going to just keep on going until my yarn runs out, or until I get tired or something, to make something a little bit more substantial, something a little bit bigger, because I am liking this, and I am liking the way the colors are coming together. And I think that I would like to have this as a shawl to use in my own life. So yeah, what did you think? Do you like these? Have you used this merino wool before? Do you get hooks and needles? Let me know all of your thoughts down in the comment section below. Do you have other hook suggestions that I might like to try out as well? And if so, I would probably add those too, right? Like a work in progress kind of video for you. Probably like calling it something like My Adventure in Crocheting, or Crochet Journey, something like that. But do give me your recommendations for yarn or patterns, websites, things I should buy, anything like that. I'd love to hear it. I'm so new to crochet that getting that kind of information is always super helpful for me. And yeah, subscribe if you want to follow along with the other things that I am doing this month. We're coming to the end of this month, next month. Wednesday, we are doing a follow-up video for my table runner from a couple of weeks ago. Not really, kind of a project revisit, kind of not. It's kind of like an amalgamation of things. That's on Wednesday. Friday is our sticker by numbers series. The following Monday should be some sort of unboxing, most likely a Sewers Club stash builder. And then after that, I am uncertain of what is coming next. So if you're interested to find out what's happening while I'm trying to figure out what's happening, while I'm trying to figure out what's happening, do think about subscribing. Like the video if you've made it this far into it. And I'm going to go. So with all of that being said, I'm going to say thank you so much for watching, and I will talk with you again soon. Bye!